In this video, we're going to take a look at making your Microsoft materials accessible. We're going to talk about what Section 508 is and how it relates to accessibility. We're also going to take a peek at videos and ensuring they are accessible for your courses as well. So Section 508 of the Rehabilitation Act, there's a caveat to the Rehabilitation Act that basically now says any of your digital materials in the workplace or that you put out to the general public, employees and people with disabilities have to be able to have equal access to that information at the same capacity that people without disabilities have. So we're going to start with Microsoft materials since that's what most people use in our organization. We're going to start with Microsoft Word. And so this Microsoft Word document, we just kind of whipped it up here. It has a couple of things on it. It's got a header there. We have a broken document as the title of our document, or the header. And we have a little bit of text. We have a table. We have an image. So I'm going to start with broken document. And I'm going to show right here that we want to make sure that we're using proper headers. We don't just want normal text in there. If this is intended to be a heading, we want to make sure that it is a heading. And then same thing if I've got subheadings, I want to make sure to use subheadings, and again, not just different sizes of text or just bold the text. We want to make it very clear to screen readers that these are intended to be headers. And so then you'll notice I clicked on review and then I click on check accessibility. Now it's going to find a few errors here for me. One of the errors that it finds is my picture. When I uploaded my picture, it attempted to generate some alt text or some captions for my picture. And so if I right click on it, it tells me what to do. But if I right click on it, I can go down to view the alt text. And again, it auto-generated that there's a white grid, meaning my table, and some black text. This is obviously not going to help somebody with a screen reader or a visual impairment decipher what is being told in this image. And so this would not be an appropriate image. Instead, what I would want to do is recreate this image in the form of a table so that somebody that needs to use a screen reader will have equal access to the information. So keep that in mind anytime you have a Word document or a PowerPoint with an image. If you are uploading an image with graph or text or anything that is meant to be read within the image, that is not going to be accessible and would be a violation of Section 508. And so it does take time, but you want to make sure that you're giving equal access to that information to your audience. Another thing to consider is color contrast. And so I'm looking here at my header and it defaults to blue. I want to change that text, keeping in mind that I'm in dark mode right now. But you can change the color of that text to have greater color contrast to again make it easier for folks that are colorblind or folks that are going to be visually impaired in some other way. And so again, at this point now I've checked my accessibility and it comes back clean. I can double check on my table as well. I did insert a table. One thing I want to do is start in the upper left-hand tile, and I want to begin pushing tab. Every time I push tab, it should move from left to right, and then the next row down. And so we've seen that that successfully did that. That means a screen reader is going to read the table in the way in which I envision. And so my Microsoft Office Word document here would be suitable now, it would be accessible now, and be compliant with Section 508, but more importantly, the information within it is going to be able to be seen by an entire audience, not just those without disabilities, assuming, of course, I've now fixed my image. So next up here, I have a PowerPoint slide, and similarly, I uploaded an image here. My image is a flow chart, and you've seen that it tried to auto-generate text for me. I can edit the text. In this case, it's a flow chart, and so I could depict each line, but again, this is not really going to be ideal for those people with a visual impairment, and they're going to use assistive technology. We would want to recreate the flow chart within PowerPoint so that a screen reader could read it properly. If I keep the accessibility checker running in the background while I'm working, it's going to auto-update everything. However, again, I could just click on review and then check accessibility again, and it will continue to update me. What I'm most worried about here is fixing errors. Warnings are great as well because warnings are going to tell you to double check things. And then down where you see intelligent services, that is generally going to let you know about your alt text on your images. So I want to first address errors. I'm going to look at missing slide title here. It says slide 3, I have no slide title. So I can go ahead and begin typing in here. Of course, it does tell me down at the bottom what to do to fix it. So I'm just typing into my slide title. And you'll see from that accessibility tab up top, there is a slide title icon to click. I can add that slide title, or I can edit a slide title. In this case, this looks pretty good for me. Now I'm going to move on to my warnings. You see it updated, the errors disappeared. So now I'm on to warnings. In warnings, it says that I need to check table 5 in my first cell for slide 2. So it takes me to the location. Now I'm looking at my cells. I have linked together a couple of cells within a table, and so it is making sure that a screen reader is going to read it in the way that I want it to. And I do want it to start with row 1 and then move down to row 2, row 3. So this would be fine, this is correct. Where you get into issues is if you have multiple cells up top and then you merge cells within your table down below, the screen reader may get confused. So you'll just want to again start in the upper left hand corner, start pushing tab. And I'm doing this for each slide that it has given me a warning on. It is making sure that I'm following up here and then this is being read in the correct way by a screen reader or other piece of assistive technology. So those all looked good. Again, intelligent services, it's going to make sure that when I am looking at my images, the alt text that was generated or that I have displayed is correct. However, again, this was not a good example. This image should be replaced by a flowchart graphic within PowerPoint in order to make sure that it is accessible for screen readers. Accessibility. I'm worried first about errors. There are no errors in this particular image. However, there's hard to read contrast. So you see that it has flagged A1 to C1, and it has let me know that this is going to be hard for somebody with color blindness or other visual impairments. And so it tells me what to do and how to fix that down at the bottom, steps to fix. I'm going to select the range, and then on the home tab I can change the font. So I already have the range selected because it did that automatically. I go back to home, and now I'm going to change the font color, or I could change the highlight color. Choice is mine. In this case, I'm just going to change the font color. And then of course, that Keep Accessibility checker was already running in the background, so it has updated live for me. No more errors. Let's take a look at your videos. YouTube and Kaltura both will auto-generate your closed captions. The goal is at least 85% of the captions to be accurate. And both of these software programs in the respective video platforms do a pretty good job of that. It's best to keep in mind that if you have any kind of numbers that are not spoken or any kind of graphics that are not spoken, this is not going to be conducive to those with visual impairments. So anytime you're going to address numbers or graphs or artistic representations, you want to be very, very descriptive in spelling out those numbers, and don't just assume your audience can see it in the video. If it's not in the transcript where they can read it, don't assume that they can see it. If this was helpful, please consider liking or subscribing to help our channel grow.